Hey, it's the start of a new week. This is the 700 Club. The North Koreans say, we're going to pay. We're going to make you 1,000 times worse. We wish you had never done that. Well, the United Nations has put sanctions on them that will hit 1/3 of their total GDP. It's a big deal. And the Trump administration is obviously calling that a victory. And we're working with China. Interestingly enough, China helped craft the sanctions on North Korea. United Nations in favor. Our UN ambassador, Nikki Haley, calls them the strongest sanctions on any country in a generation. Think of it.
And here at home, the job market's looking better and better as the new chief of staff is imposing some tough discipline at the White House. Jenna Browder brings us the story from Washington.
President Trump is at his golf club in Bedminster, New Jersey, but he says this is no vacation as his administration faces challenges both abroad and at home. Among those challenges, restoring order within the West Wing. Friday, new Chief of Staff John Kelly gathered about 200 White House aides for a meeting where he warned them against leaks, and Bloomberg reports he told them they all work for the president and have to act as one team.
Everyone having a good time?
There's also the ongoing Russia probe, where the White House got some good news. Some have criticized Special Counsel Robert Mueller for overreaching and looking into areas beyond where they think he should go. But Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein says Mueller understands there are limits to the scope of his investigation.
The Special Counsel is subject to the rules and regulations of the Department of Justice, and we don't engage in fishing expeditions.
The Trump administration also scored a big foreign policy win. The UN Security Council unanimously voted to sanction North Korea. The resolution was drafted by the United States and negotiated with North Korea's neighbor and ally, China. The measure punishes the regime for growing a nuclear and missile program. And perhaps most importantly, here at home, the economy is bouncing back, growing at 2.6%, an improvement but still short of Trump's goal of 3%.
GDP for the quarter just released at 2.6%. So that's so much higher than anticipated.
But that's just the beginning, as Trump is hoping to cut business and individual tax rates to help get the economy growing strongly again after years of weakness. Of course, he needs Congress to do this. When he gets back from his working vacation, he needs Republicans in both the House and the Senate to pass a bill so he can sign it. In Washington, Jenna Browder, CBN News.
Well, with us to talk about how the Trump team plans to strengthen the economy and help increase incomes is Steve Moore. He's with the Freedom Works, and he was an economic advisor of the Trump campaign. Steve, something's happening, something's working. Is it the deregulation? What's going on in your opinion?
Well, Pat, I think it was a month or so ago on your show that I said we have a Trump bounce with the economy, and now I'm going to call it a Trump moon bounce because we have had really good numbers in the last couple of months. We've seen a record high stock market, a record low unemployment rate. Now there's still millions of people who need jobs out there, but there's just no question about it. The trend is very positive. You see it in the confidence numbers of small businesses and consumers that are ready to expand. The businesses want to expand their operations. So it's good. It's a good situation. Not a great economy right now, but it's a good economy and it's improving. So what do they have to do to get it to be great? I think we need to, get that tax cut done.
Well, Steve, the health care, they didn't sell it. They didn't really go out to the people and sell it. I understand there's a major grassroots effort to sell this tax cut. Am I correct in that?
Well, you're right on both counts. First of all, the messaging on the health bill was a disaster. We let the liberals take over the narrative that somehow all these people are going to lose their health insurance, when in fact, what's happening right now is people are losing their health insurance because it's so expensive under Obamacare, where people's premiums have more than doubled in just the last 3 years, and nobody can afford that. And yeah, we have to do a lot better job on the tax front. And this is not hard to do. It's a very simple message, Pat. We have the highest business tax rates in the world. We're way up here, and the rest of the world's way down here. That's leading to a lot of our businesses moving their factories or their headquarters or their operations out of the United States and taking their jobs to places like Canada or places like China. I was in Ireland not long ago. Dublin, you know, all you see in Dublin is American companies that have moved out of the United States. Now, we got to move them back to America and create the jobs in Michigan and Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Virginia all over by lowering that tax rate so we go from being the highest tax rate country in the world to the lowest. Got to get it done by the end of this year.
What you're saying is so eminently reasonable, but will the Democrats demagogue this thing and say, well, all the Republicans are doing is a tax cut for the rich, blah, blah, blah. It's the usual stuff. Are they going to play that game, or is there enough juice in Congress to get this thing passed?
You know, it's a sort of sad situation politically. I'm old enough, Pat, I think you're old enough to remember as well, back when Ronald Reagan was president. Remember when his 1981 tax cut passed, the Democrats ran the House of Representatives. Do you remember that, Pat? And yet Ronald Reagan made the case that the economy needed a tax cut, and we got dozens and dozens of Democrats to vote with Ronald Reagan to get that tax cut done. And then in 1986, you may recall, we did the Tax Reform Act under Ronald Reagan, and that was led by a lot of Democrats like Bill Bradley of New Jersey and Dick Gephardt and Ted Kennedy. Today, there's not virtually a single Democrat who wants to cut our taxes and make America more competitive. It's a sad situation. That means we're going to be in the same situation we were with health care, Pat. We're going to need to get 50 votes, 50 Republicans in the House, in the Senate, to vote for a tax cut. But I do believe we're going to get this done. I'm fairly confident of it. And I think it'll make a big difference in terms of jobs. So there's an old saying, if you want more jobs and higher incomes, you have to have healthy businesses. And when I go around the country and talk to the men and women who run these great companies in America, whether they're large companies or, you know, maybe just companies with 10 or 15 employees, they say, you give me that tax cut and I will reinvest it in my business and hire more workers and pay them more and maybe purchase another truck so I can hire another truck driver. That's how you expand the economy, Pat.
Well, let me ask you on this one. Do you think the Republicans should try for a total overhaul of the code, which is just a nightmare of special interests, or should they just do for a targeted tax cut like the business tax and a few things you're talking about? Which would you prefer?
Well, by the way, I've always been a huge advocate of just blowing up the tax system. You know, let's have a big bonfire in Washington and blow up this 60,000-page tax code and start over. But I don't believe we have time to do it in the next couple of months, Pat. So here's what I have been advising the Republicans to do, and I'd love your thoughts about this. Let's do the tax cut now, as Reagan did in 1981. Get the tax rates down to get the economy moving again, mainly for our businesses, but also put some money into the hands of American middle-class workers. And then when we get that done, then let's use 2018 and 19 to rewrite the tax system, make it really simple and affordable for people, and maybe even have a Steve Forbes-style flat tax. I know he's been on your show. Sure. So I would do it in a two-step process. What do you think?
Well, I think that sounds eminently practical. I think the other will be too tough. There are just too many vested interests in that arcane system we got now. Let me ask you something. We did a show the other day, and we talked about what the Obama people had done in relation to the health savings, the insurance premiums, not the health savings, the insurance premiums of the Congress, that they had declared the Senate and House as small businesses, and therefore the employer could give subsidy for their employees, and therefore it was a 73% subsidy. And then there's a district court judge who's also ruled that it's unconstitutional to, at least not accordance with the law, to give subsidies to keep shoring up these insurance exchanges. You know, the pressure is on Trump to cave in on that and give them the money. Are you advising on that? I think it would be a big mistake to do that.
Well, first of all, there's 2 points here, Pat. The first is I don't think a lot of Americans realize how corrupt Congress is, that they actually wrote themselves out of the Obamacare bill. Did you know that, Pat? So Obamacare does not apply to Congress, but applies to the rest of us. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. It's crazy. Yeah. And that's because members of Congress didn't want Obamacare, but they want the rest of us to have it. So that has to be taken care of. Congress, don't you think, Pat, should live by the laws that they pass Absolutely. On the rest of us? Well, now, yeah. On your second point, which is really more important, and I want to alert all your listeners to this and viewers to this because this is so critical. Right now, as we sit here, Pat, there are a bunch of, I'm going to call them turncoat Republicans, who are negotiating with Nancy Pelosi and negotiating with Chuck Schumer of the United States Senate, the Democrats, to essentially surrender on health care. And we would get virtually no reforms, but the Congress would appropriate $30 or $40 billion more to bail out the insurance companies, bail out the Obamacare exchanges. Now, that's not repeal of Obamacare. That's enshrining Obamacare into the fiscal budget forever. We will never get rid of Obamacare. That has to stop. And my bottom line here, Pat, is no bailout for insurance companies or Obamacare. If Republicans do that, it will be a complete betrayal of what they told us they would. It would not get rid of Obamacare. It would make it irreplaceable.
Steve, has the president got the intestinal fortitude to stand up for that and demand it? Because what you're saying is absolutely right.
Yes, the answer is Donald Trump is not going to sign a bill that is an Obamacare bill. Now, look, if the deal were, you know, we got rid of the employer mandate, we got rid of the requirement that people have to be in Obamacare, if that were the price to pay, you know, to maybe a bailout some of these companies temporarily so that we actually move towards a new reformed system, then I might take that deal. But Democrats, you know, they don't want to give Republicans anything. I mean, Nancy Pelosi said this on Chris Wallace's show on Fox News the other day when she said we should have a bipartisan solution, and the bipartisan solution is everything we as Democrats want to do. Yeah. That's not very bipartisan. And so I think Donald Trump is very steadfast here. But we've got to get citizens involved, right? Your congressman and woman. If you live in Tennessee, Lamar Alexander is one of the guys who's negotiating the surrender on Obamacare. I mean, you can tell I'm infuriated by it, Pat, because this is not what Republicans told us they would do.
Well, I think they're going to lose the Congress if they do this.
They will.
Without question, the people will not stand for it. But it's so, you know, was there not a district court judge who said that these subsidies are illegal and that Congress hadn't put it in as part of the original bill? Is that not correct? Yeah.
Exactly. So just to clarify what you're talking about, you're exactly right, Pat. If Congress, Congress has to appropriate money, right? Yeah. And what was happening under Obama, Obama was spending money without a congressional appropriation. That's a violation of the separation of powers. You've got the story exactly right, and that is illegal. You can't do that.
Well, it's going to the D.C. Circuit. Who knows how they're going to rule? But if the Trump Justice Department does not defend that law or does not defend the actions of Obama, it would fail in the court, it seems like to me. I don't understand. I mean, Trump has the power. He can keep the Democrats from winning on this one. Again, can you bolster him so he won't do that, so he won't cave on it?
I don't think he will cave in it. I think he's going to say to Congress, look, if you want this additional money for next year, then you're going to have to give me something. Because, right, and by the way, it's the Republicans who struck out here, but not a single Democrat has been in favor of anything. They don't want to get rid of they don't want to do the Medicaid reforms, which are bankrupting states. They don't want to get rid of what I think is reprehensible, this individual mandate. I mean, Pat, what other product in America does the government require you to buy? I mean, that's ridiculous. This is America. You can't do that. And we could have, if we had a free enterprise system in healthcare, I believe we can cover everyone. So this idea of people aren't going to get, we can cover everyone for 30 to 40% less. It's called the free enterprise system. It's called competition. It's called choice. You don't get any of that under Obamacare.
Steve Moore, may the American people listen to you.
I'm nervous, Pat.
For your mouth to God's ears.
No bailout. No bailout of Obamacare.
I'm with you, buddy. I think what Trump said, let the thinking thing fail. I mean, it's going to fail, and then come in and do something better. You know, give me a bill that'll work. They appreciate it so much. Tremendous what's going on. But ladies and gentlemen, somebody has got to have some intestinal fortitude. And I'm telling you, these senators that want to cave, you know, write them, scream, and threaten them. I mean, give them heat.
We need to name them so that we know who we're contacting.
Lamar Alexander's a good friend. He's a good guy. I don't know where he's coming from. He just seems so reasonable. Oh, that's the Democrats. Well, let's all be reasonable. And reasonable means you'll go along with whatever we want. No way.